Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of the Go-To Podcast with me, your host, Anthony DiDomenico, coming to you every week on your favorite podcast listening platform. Also available on YouTube. Go over and subscribe. YouTube.com/the Go-To Pod. Definitely go and check me out there. I got some plans for YouTube, so you're going to want to go subscribe and be a member there and be one of the first to say, hey, I was here. Let's do it. Let's subscribe and watch all the Michigas Anthony's up to. But definitely go and check that out. I also have a link in the podcast description and in my link tree on my Instagram page over at the Go-To Anthony D to buy me a coffee. All the money goes back into the podcast. Kind of keeps the lights on. We'll talk about it at the end of the podcast as well. But wanted to get into this week's episode. I didn't even get a chance to, I found out about this through Instagram and a post that they had made on their Instagram page that the Wine Over Matter podcast, WOM, as we call it on the street, was ending after 5 years. Steph and Laura, you can go listen. Please go listen to the episode. It's they said their goodbye, and I get it. I get that, putting a podcast out each week is a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. If you haven't, if you're not doing a podcast, you don't know really what goes into putting this out each week, not just the recording, but the prep that goes into it, if you're serious about it. But I just wanted to say goodbye to the Wine Over Matter podcast, and I wanted to thank Laura and Steph for 5 amazing years. I don't think you guys really know how good you are at podcasting. I hope you do. I really hope you do, but both of you are naturals. There's no other way to put it. Entertaining, funny. The podcast would just go. And you wouldn't, before you know it, it's over because you were just into the show. Nothing lagged. It was a very well thought out, well planned, well executed podcast. And I'm very proud to have been a guest on there a few times. I'm very proud to have Laura and Steph. They've been guests on my previous podcasts. That's how I kind of got to know everybody. But I got to know Laura first. She was like one of my first real Instagram friends when I started doing Weight Watchers back in the old Dub days, about 2018. I forget who followed who first, but Laura always puts out great content, and we kind of got to chatting about baseball. Laura's an Angels fan, living out in California, and here in New York, I'm a Yankees fan. And I remember how we really got to be friends was I had told her I was going to see the Yankees and the Angels at the stadium. I was taking my girlfriend. She was going to the Yankee game. And so that game, the Angels destroyed the Yankees. They just kicked the shit out of them. And Laura wrote me to do a little trash talking, as we do with our sports teams back and forth. Whether it be, our hockey teams or our baseball teams, respectfully. And I told Laura, I said, I didn't even go to the game. My girlfriend dumped me on Friday, and I didn't want to go. I sold the tickets. And we got to just talking about, she was coming out of a divorce. She had started dating again. And we just found common ground, not only with, on our weight loss journeys, but with this crazy world of dating and the insaneness of it all. And she's just a good person. And I had Laura on my podcast. At the time, it was the WW Bro podcast, then Keep Moving Forward. And after, maybe the first or second time Laura was on, I was like, you got to do a podcast. You're just a natural at this. And I was so happy when Laura announced that she was doing this podcast with Steph. I didn't know Steph before the podcast, But I definitely, even if I never became friends with Steph on Instagram and through Laura, I would have felt like I've known her from the Wine Over Matter podcast. That's the thing. You listen to this podcast, you're going to get two new friends. You're going to feel like you're there with them. You'll find yourself talking to the radio, whatever listening device, as I do when, they're talking about something. I talk back to the radio like I'm there with them. I'm like a crazy person in my car when I'm doing this. So Steph, we started following each other. We became friends on Instagram, and I've had Steph on my podcast. And again, these are two people that are just they're two genuine people that I'm so glad I got to know, even if it's through the internet. And they always say, meet your internet friends. And I one day I hope to meet both of them. If I ever get out to California, that's one of the first things on my list is to hang out with them because, we spent all this time talking online, and it's crazy. We live in a world now where it's crazy to think that, like, you could be friends with somebody across the country and never meet them. But I've discovered that some of the best people I've known has come from that app and going through the same kind of mishigas we all went through and having that common ground. And listening to the Wine Over Matter podcast all over these years, it's been awesome. You followed, Laura's getting engaged, getting married, Steph coming out of a divorce, starting to date again, finding her husband. Laura had a hand in that. Go and listen to the podcast, please. The story's awesome. And you just felt like you, like I said before, you were there with them. And am I sad to see the podcast go? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think that they're both good at this. And I hope maybe someday down the road that they pick this up again, even if it's just something like once a month, whatever. But again, I understand. Listen, life is crazy. My podcast, I do it once a week. It's just me. I record for a half an hour. That's not all it is. And even to carve out this half an hour today, I'm on a tight schedule. I worked all day, picked up my food shopping, came home, made my food, got my food ready for tomorrow. Here we are now recording the podcast. I have to upload the episode, make the reels for the week and everything, and then do the prep for the next episode. A lot goes into doing a podcast, especially if you're going to do it right. And if you get to know Laura and Steph, they're very diligent. They're very, their attention to detail is spectacular. And it made for an amazing podcast. So I wanted to thank both of them for an amazing 5 years. Selfishly, I am very sorry to see the podcast go, but I'm also, as a friend, very happy to see you both living the kind of lives you are living and that you deserve. And I hope more happiness comes to both of you because you're both good people. And thank you very much for letting me into your world and being on the Wine Over Matter podcast a few times I was on. It was always fun. I was actually telling my sister-in-law, Trudy, the other day about the story. I was doing the podcast. We were trying to, again, I'm on the East Coast, they're on the West Coast. Sometimes finding times wasn't always the easiest with their, work schedules and everything. So I said, yeah, I could do the podcast on a Saturday. I said, but I'll be by my brother's, but no problem. I'll bring my computer, my microphone over. So I'm upstairs in now, which is my nephew Rocco's room, but it used to be the guest room or guessing room, as Rocco would call it when he was younger. And I'm doing the podcast with them. And I look out the window and I see my sister-in-law running around the neighborhood and my brother behind her. And I'm looking out the window and they kind of, and Lauren and Steph here. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's going on outside. My sister-in-law's outside running around. My brother's behind her. And Rocco then comes upstairs. I guess he got in trouble. What happened was Rocco he was across the street in a neighbor's house, went to another house without telling my sister-in-law, and she didn't know where he was. Found him in like couple of seconds. But he got punished. He came upstairs and he was standing in the doorway, and I'm like, were you somewhere you weren't supposed to be? He's like, I don't know. I just went to my friend's house. I'm like, well, did you tell somebody? And he's like, no. And I tried to get him on the podcast, and he was so shy. But it's just again, it just another example how that podcast just and encompass friendship, family, everything. And yeah, once again, thank you so much to Laura and Steph. And if you're not following them on Instagram, please go and do so. You can follow Steph at Authentically Steph, and you could follow Laura at Crunches Before Brunches. Please go. They put out amazing content on both their Instagram pages, so you won't be disappointed. Steph, I will give you that shout out, even though you put out the Freddie Freeman Grand Slam post 8 million times that you and Jordan were at the game. Just kidding. But yeah. So yes, Jordan, her husband's a Dodgers fan, and they were at the game, World Series Game 1, 2024. Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam, and they were at the game, and I had to watch that. Not only did I have to watch it live, but for some reason, every time I opened my Instagram, it was Steph and Jordan cheering to that. And so even though that happened, Steph, we're still cool. In any case, go follow them. Go listen to the podcast. It's great. I can't say enough good things about them or the podcast. So please go check it out. Definitely go and check that out. So I had a pretty mellow week. A lot of meal prep and cooking. And I got to watch some movies that I haven't seen in a while. And I was on Netflix just scrolling because I'm like, let me see. I want to watch something I haven't seen in a while. Let's see what's on here. And High Fidelity was there. I haven't seen High Fidelity in years. I absolutely love this movie. It's pretty close to a perfect movie. I can watch High Fidelity over and over and over again. It's great acting, a great cast, great soundtrack. Of course, the music's good because it's about John Cusack's character where owns a record store, a vinyl shop. High Fidelity is a 20. I was gonna say 20. It came out in 2000. I thought it was in the 90s, but it's a 2000 comedy directed by Stephen Frears, starring John Cusack, along with an ensemble cast of Jack Black, Lisa Bonet, Joel A. Carter, Joan Cusack, Sarah Gilbert. It's just absolutely amazing. The cast was great. Jack Black before really became famous, but he is awesome in this role. Definitely go see this movie. Tim Robbins actually has a small part in it. Amazing movie. Can't say enough good things about this movie. And it's a typical guy loses girl, guy wants girl back, and it just talks about like the relationships and misery and all that stuff, but in a great way. The way he breaks down his past top 5 breakups, and he goes and he gets his redemption and everything. It's you realize it's not so much the person, it's you in the end. But I really do love this movie. It was released in the United States March 31st, 2000. I saw it in the theaters. Of course, my best friend Nick was where we see all these movies together. It took place in Chicago, which, let me tell you something. For romantic comedies, Chicago is one of the best cities to put a romantic comedy. I put it above, even as a New Yorker, above New York. There's something about the background setting of Chicago and a romantic comedy that goes perfect together. I don't know why. It just happened. And how could you not like John Cusack? I mean, as an actor, this guy is phenomenal. Some of my favorite movies he's been in. And one of the best lines in the movie, he says, like, films, books, television, these things matter, and it does. Who you're with, what they like, it matters. And they're music snobs. They they know their stuff. It's a vinyl shop, so you know, I'm not a big vinyl guy myself, but I know people who are and how they are with their music, and it's definitely they feel like they're a little superior to the rest of us in a way. But this movie, absolutely fantastic. You know, I was so happy to watch it again. I really was. I watched it the other night when I was making dinner and eating dinner. Um, and it was a joy to watch again. I still laugh at the same parts as I did when I first saw it. And I get hit in the feels the same parts as well that, you know, that I saw it all those years ago. So definitely go and check that movie out. The second movie that I watched this week that one of my favorites from one of my favorite writers and directors. It's from Edward Burns, Ed Burns, as they call him on the street, a Long Island boy. This is She's the One, 1996 follow up to the Brothers McMullen. This was like his first real studio movie after the Brothers McMullen. Um, it was written and directed by Edward Burns. It stars Ed Burns himself, Jennifer Aniston, Cameron Diaz, Mike McGlone, Maxine Boz, I think it is, and John Mahoney. And the film features Tom Petty's music. It's I like it. I like the story. It's a good twist. Good guys, some good plot twists in it, and there was some critical. Uh, the critics did criticize this a little bit that at the time Burns gave the lead female role to his then girlfriend, Maxine Bonds, however we say it. And people say Jennifer Aniston should have had that role. And I see it now as I watch the movie over and over again. I think if you switch those roles, it's a better movie in a case because Jennifer Aniston's a better actress, but it's casted perfect. It's the people, it works. But Jennifer Aniston and Cameron Diaz are fantastic in this movie. Cameron Diaz plays, I guess, the villain in this, kind of the girl in the middle, perfectly. John Mahoney's great as the Irish firefighter father. I like that he calls the younger brother Patrick. He goes when he talks to Ed Burns' character Mickey. He goes, "Where's your sister?" Um, you know, he calls him Dorothy sometimes. Like, you know, it's kind of like that ball busting that it reminds me of my dad, and he did with me and my brother. You know, when we were kids and we'd be whining, he would call us Antoinette and Michelle. So it hits home in a way. And anything that Ed Burns writes hits home with me. I guess it's that Long Island connection. You know, if you don't grow up here on the East Coast on Long Island, it's kind of hard to understand. But we just have a different way of looking at things. And I like the plot of this movie. I don't want to give too much away, but basically, Cameron Diaz is the ex of Mickey, Ed Burns' character. Um, I don't want. I'm not going to give that much. I'm not going to give that much away. I don't want to give the plot away. I want you to go watch it. I'm not here to. Even though this movie is from 1996, it's 30 years old. I don't want to spoil anything. I want you to go watch it. I think it's on Netflix or it's on Prime. I don't know. No, it's on Netflix because I was looking for just looking to watch an Ed Burns movie. I just on streaming service I type him his name and I like to go watch his movies. I like his writing. Like I said, it hits home. And this movie did actually pretty well considering had a budget of $3 million and it grossed 13.8 million. So it did pretty well. You know, I guess it was I don't know if it was a major studio film or they still consider an independent film. Um, but it did pretty well as far as that. They definitely made their money back. Uh, yeah, the reception was. Critics were overall won by the performances of John Mahoney, Jennifer Aniston, and Cameron Diaz. Aniston and Mahoney brought a solid kind of professionalism to the to the movie, according to Chris Hicks said better. However, Diaz lending charm to a character who would be quite unsympathetic. It's true though. You actually, her character, you shouldn't feel anything for, but at the end, you're actually happy for her in a way. It's crazy. They were less favoring of Maxine Bonds. Saying about her, the graduate student Hope is played by Maxine Bonds. Bonds' real life girlfriend, who is also the love interest in McMullen. Throw a rock out the window, and it's sure to hit someone with more acting talent than Bonds. Wow. People really went after her with this. And, it's in Brothers McMullen. It's actually, Ed Burns was wrestling with giving his girlfriend the part because in Brothers McMullen, one of the scenes is he goes, I finally have a good script on my hands. And like other actresses, the studio wanted other actors, but he promised the role to his then girlfriend. So maybe that's what this was about. I don't know. But she's okay in it. Leslie Mann's in it. One of her first roles. She's got a small part in it. She plays Maxine's friend in the movie. It's just it's a good old fashioned 90s rom com with a nice ending. So definitely go and please go and check that out. Definitely go and check that out. My go-to cigar of the week was a cigar that I never had before, and I was very excited to try it. It was the Monte Cristo. I'm going to get this wrong. Espada Conquistador. This cigar was absolutely fantastic. From start to finish, I loved this cigar. The wrapper is Nicaraguan. Origin is Nicaraguan. I love Nicaraguan cigars. This thing had a nice full body flavor to it. I don't know the flavor notes. You guys know that. But this is a cigar I would definitely get again. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, it's actually they I think they paired with a collaboration between Monte Cristo and Plasencia. Plasencia is another great cigar company. So this is a combination. This is a pairing with Monte Cristo and Plasencia. The Conquistador by Monte Cristo. Definitely go and check this out if you're a cigar smoker. You're gonna love this cigar. Excellent cigar. Can't wait to have it this week. A buddy of mine who was a regular at the lounge, he moved away. He'll be back this week, so maybe I'll get another chance to have it this week. But definitely go and check that out. As far as television, I'm still watching Oz. I'm almost done with that. And then it's getting ready. It's almost that time of year. They're defrosting. It's almost Gilmore Girls rewatch time. Yeah, I'm going to start. Yeah, September 1st, I'm going to start. It's, it's that time of year. I'm watching the clips. I'm getting ready for it. I'm seeing all this. This is crazy. I've never seen so much Gilmore Girls merchandise in the stores as I'm seeing now. And yeah, I'm going to buy some, I think. I'm going to get some. If they have a big and tall Gilmore Girls section, I'll definitely get a hoodie or something. If they could make that. Does Stars Hollow have a big and tall store? Otherwise, I can't move there. But we'll see. We'll figure something out. Definitely can't wait for that watch. And to end the show in honor of the Wine Over Matter podcast, ending after 5 years, I'm going to do a flavor of the week. Flavor of the week. If you listen to WOM, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I got these incredible low-calorie sauces from Taste Flavor Co. Definitely go and check this out. I was looking for something that, just kind of give my food a little kick, as they say. And this has been coming up on my Instagram ads like crazy. And I'm usually hesitant when those things pop up. But I kept on reading good things about it, seeing good reviews about it. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And I bought, they were out of the ranch. They were also out of, which one they were out of? The Korean barbecue, I think. So I went, I made my own bag. I got I got the truffle parm ketchup. I got, I got cherry barbecue. And I also got the sesame ginger teriyaki, which I haven't tried yet. I'm going to make hamburgers with those this week. I cannot wait. But let me tell you something. The truffle parm ketchup and the cherry smoked barbecue sauce are absolutely amazing. I've had the truffle parm ketchup on my eggs this weekend, and I used the smoked cherry barbecue. I made chicken with potatoes and broccoli, and I mixed it all together with the sauce. Came out amazing. Amazing flavors on this for 10 calories per serving. It's you're not, it lets you indulge without the calories. So please go and check out tasteflavorco.com. I have no affiliation with them. I'm just giving you some updates and some go-tos if you are looking to watch what you're eating, eat a little healthier, but you don't want to give up some flavor. Definitely go and check this out. Tasteflavorco.com. I want to thank everybody who joined us this week on the Go-To podcast. This was a fun one. Please go and check out the podcast on all podcast platforms. 5-star rate and review. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm like 20 followers away from the beginning of getting monetized. So please go over to not Instagram, youtube.com/@thegotopod and subscribe. Watch the other content I have there. Comment, like, whatever you want to do over there as well. There's a link to buy me a coffee. All the proceeds go back into the podcast, keeping the lights on, so to speak. Once again, thank you so much for joining me this week on the Go-To podcast. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you later.